There is an invisible, silent prison that many of us have unconsciously walked into and remained imprisoned in for a lifetime without ever realizing it. There are no tangible walls there, no chains, and no guards standing watch. It is built from the insults of the past, the wounds of betrayal, shattered expectations, and the exhaustion of endlessly trying to explain yourself to those who never wanted to understand you in the first place. Every day that passes, that invisible prison takes away something even more precious than money: your inner peace. The person who hurt you years ago may be living happily and sleeping soundly every night, yet your mind still endlessly replays conversations that ended long ago. The greatest tragedy lies not in what they once caused, but in the fact that they no longer need to control you, because your own thoughts continue to do it for them. Yet from this very moment, everything can change. Let us explore the profound secrets of Stoicism, not to become apathetic, but to forge yourself into an invincible human being. When you truly master yourself, no one will easily be able to hurt you anymore. Stay tuned until the end of the video, because the final secret can transform a fragile soul into an indomitable will, standing steadfast against every storm. The mind is a citadel, the art of closing the gates to the storms of life. Have you ever wondered why a mighty empire like Rome could collapse? Not because the enemy was too strong from the outside, but because the city gates were inadvertently left open from within. The life of each and every one of us is much the same. When an insult, a discriminatory look, or a negative opinion from someone else appears, we usually have the habit of starting in a panic, swinging wide the doors of our souls and inviting them in to reign. And so, we hand the key ourselves to those who are entirely unworthy, allowing them to control every heartbeat of emotion and rob us of our peaceful sleep night after night. Stoicism opens up a perspective for us that is utterly shattering, yet deeply liberating. No one in this world has the power to hurt you, except you yourself are the one who willingly cracks the door open for them to enter. Emperor Marcus Aurelius, despite facing countless plots, betrayals, and jealousy from all over the world, every morning upon waking up, the first thing he did was not to check his weapons or mobilize his troops, but to examine his own mind. He understood that others could criticize his intellect, mock his authority, or judge his character, but absolutely no one could touch his innermost core unless he nodded in agreement. That is the very first great lesson: protecting the gates of the mind. Imagine your mind as a majestic fortress perched atop a high mountain. Out there, the sea of life may roar, storms may churn, and the fierce waves of envy and judgment continuously crash against the cliffs. Yet deep down, beneath those thousands of meters of water, the ocean remains completely calm. The shallow person reacts to every tiny noise because they live floating on the surface, whereas the wise person cultivates a depth of soul so steadfast that all the noises of the world can never reach the foundation of the self. Epictetus once taught that the nature of an insult carries no inherent weight. It is merely a mirror reflecting the poverty and chaos within the mind of the person who speaks it. When someone intentionally humiliates you, they are telling the world about their own fears and unhealed wounds, rather than measuring your true worth. Yet, most of us spend months and years chewing on those bitter words, turning our minds into a prison that confines our own souls. It is time for us to let go of the burden that does not belong to us. Lock the gates tightly, not because you fear the world, but because you understand that your own attention and energy are a currency far too sacred and precious. When you learn to stand firm against every storm, with composure and self-respect, the world out there will understand that this fortress is closed to all manipulation, and that is the very first moment you step onto the throne of absolute freedom. The art of walking away, when silence becomes your sharpest weapon. There are arguments born not to uncover the truth, but simply to drain your energy. How many times have you stayed up all night drafting a lengthy text message, trying to explain, justify, and prove yourself to someone who had already decided not to understand you? You thought you were fighting to defend your honor, but in reality, you were holding a bucket full of gasoline and throwing it straight into a fire, waiting to consume your very soul. Stoicism calls this humanity's greatest delusion, handing the sword of power to someone else with your own hands, and then standing defenseless inside a cage you built yourself. Imagine standing before a meaningless battle. There, your opponent is not seeking empathy. They merely crave a reaction, an outraged scream, or a bitter look from you. When you fly into a rage, when you argue over every single word, you inadvertently turn yourself into a pawn in their game. The Stoic sages grasped a paradox that the modern world often forgets. Not every battle is worth the expenditure of your energy. There are victories with a price so steep that upon winning them, you realize you have dropped all your peace of mind. That is truly a failure disguised in the cloak of success. Seneca and Epictetus taught that if someone insults or stubbornly misunderstands you, they are merely laying bare the instability, shallowness, and wounds within their own inner world. Those harsh words do not define your worth, just as the roar of a wild beast cannot shake a great mountain. A person of true character never rushes to argue. They understand that trying to persuade a stubborn fool is like trying to explain colors to someone blind from birth. It merely wastes time and brings useless exhaustion. That is why the second lesson carries such a profound transformative power. Stop feeding the conflict. Silence is not cowardice or a sign of submission. On the contrary, silence is the highest manifestation of self-respect and proud dignity. When you refuse to argue, when you quietly walk away in the face of slander or ungrateful provocation, you strip away the only thing the manipulator hungers for, your attention. Let the storms out there roar until they exhaust themselves. When you let go of the need to win every argument, you do not become smaller. On the contrary, your soul suddenly becomes vaster and more magnanimous than ever before. Walking away is not running away. It is the choice to place your own authority and peace of mind above all the meaningless noise of this world. It's the power of invisibility, when emotions are no longer an auction item. This modern world resembles a giant stage where millions of people are unwittingly participating in an underground auction. What is being traded is neither money nor material goods, but their most private emotional highs and lows. Every harsh criticism, every judgmental glance, or sudden betrayal is a nudge meant to drag you into a vortex of anger, fear, or hurt. The manipulators out there do not need to use chains or swords. They only need a single thing to dominate you: predictability. When they know for sure that you will fly into a rage when insulted, crumble when rejected, or grovel when abandoned, you are no more than a puppet strung up on someone else's chessboard. The Stoic sages of antiquity saw right through this sophisticated trap. They realized that a person who cannot master their own emotions will forever remain a sharp weapon in the hands of others. Yet, the miracle happens the exact moment you decide to become invisible to all manipulative tricks. Invisibility here does not mean running away or shrinking into a dark corner. Rather, it means casting an invisible shield over your inner self, causing every venomous arrow of circumstance to fall limply to the ground because it can find no foothold to pierce. Imagine a towering mountain standing steadfast amidst the earth and sky. When winter arrives, raging gales roar, Lightning rips through the night, and blizzard winds lash mercilessly against the cliffs. The mountain does not scream back in an argument with the storm, nor does it try to prove its greatness. It simply exists, silent, majestic, and resolute. When the tempest passes, the mountain remains right there, entirely intact, while the storm has exhausted itself and vanished into nothingness. Storms mistakenly believe they are strong simply because they are noisy. Yet the mountain is truly powerful because it never needs to answer back. When you no longer react the way a manipulator expects, their world suddenly collapses. Nothing makes a controller feel more helpless and bewildered than facing a completely tranquil soul. Their anger suddenly turns into stray echoes lost in mid-air because you have refused to accept the toxic gift they offered. From now on, your mind is no longer a battlefield for others to trample upon, but has become an independently governed garden where peace and self-mastery take deep, lasting root. Walking the path of Stoicism means reclaiming supreme authority over your own life with your own hands. When you no longer let others lead you by the nose with provocative words, you not only become an individual invincible to all harm, but you also reach the highest realm of inner freedom, where no one, under any circumstance, can dictate your smile or your sleep ever again. Memento mori, when the final boundary blows away, all petty pride. There is a brutal, yet immensely liberating truth that most of us spend our whole lives trying to escape. One day, your heartbeat will stop, your name will be spoken for the very last time, and this world will still keep spinning without caring at all where you once were. The ancients called it memento mori, the reminder that we must die. To ordinary mortals, this concept carries the color of fear and darkness. But through the lens of Stoicism, it is precisely the master key to unlock every shackle of mediocrity, helping human beings completely shed all resentments, jealousy, and illusory pride. Every morning before making any decision, Stoic philosophers would remind themselves of the finite nature of human life. Imagine standing amidst the ancient ruins of an empire that was once glorious, where the monuments of kings and rulers who once made countless people tremble now stand covered in the dust of time. Those who once humiliated them, the courts that once fought against one another, and even the grievances that once caused them to lose sleep, all have sunk into eternity. Time has never known how to compromise with anyone. It sweeps away both the arrogant and the weak, leaving behind absolute stillness. Try casting that perspective onto your own life right this moment. Tonight, have you ever tossed and turned just because of a careless word from a colleague, a rejection in love, or the frustration that someone has not recognized your talent? You gnaw on that pain, nurture your grudge, and tell yourself that you must retaliate at all costs. Yet, if you had only 1 year left to live, would the pride choking your heart right now still be worth a single cent? Would those pointless arguments or petty jealousies still have enough power to hold you back in the swamp of bitterness? Death itself, with its cold majesty, possesses the power to pare away all vain illusions. It strips off the colorful shell of illusory fame and external recognition to return to us the most naked yet purest truth. Your time in this world is too short to waste on the negative emotions of others. When you place yourself on the final boundary of existence, resentments suddenly shrink down to mere specks of dust flying past in the wind. Fully understanding memento mori is not about living pessimistically, but about awakening. It teaches us how to love more deeply, let go more gently, and cherish every single present moment. When you know that everything will eventually fade, you will no longer be eager to prove yourself to passers-by, nor will you have the patience to get entangled in petty jealousies. You walk with your head held high, not to fight the world, but to keep your soul pristine, free, and immortal against the indifferent flow of time. The laws of nature, when you stop begging for attention and let those who do not value you go there, is a sweet yet most brutal illusion that humanity has been taught since childhood, that we must always be ready, always open our hearts, humble ourselves to explain, forgive without limit, and beg for recognition even from those who have long since slammed the doors of their hearts shut. We try to cling to toxic relationships, send one more pleading text message, endure one more wound, in the hope that such blind sacrifice will be exchanged for a shred of compassion or appreciation. Yet, the harsh laws of nature have never operated that way. The sun never rises to try to convince the blind that light is real. The vast ocean never swims away in search of throats parched with thirst. And the towering mountain has never lowered its peak just so everyone can reach it. The greatest entities in this universe have never had to beg for attention. A proud lion will never look back to bark at the flock of birds calling out above it. It simply walks away, fully understanding that noise never defines power, and attention is never a measure of self-worth. Stoicism opens a grand door of liberation. The moment you stop chasing those who look down on you is also the moment you recover the pristine dignity of your soul. Seneca once warned that the greatest waste in a human life is dedicating your finite fund of time entirely to those who take your sincerity for granted and treat it cheaply. Try looking at yourself in the mirror. How many years have passed in the fear of being abandoned? How many nights have you tormented yourself with regret over someone who never even feared losing you? The more you chase the shadow of external recognition, the more you shrink, becoming small, weak, and exhausted. Never confuse clinging with love. True respect has never been born from submissiveness or begging. It only blossoms from a calm, self-respecting, and inwardly steadfast character. There will come a day when you are forced to bravely face a heartbreaking yet liberating truth. Instead of mourning those who have chosen to walk out of your life, turn back to pity your own version, the one who dropped self-confidence, lost identity, and eroded the soul just to keep someone who does not belong to you. The essence of life, under the Stoic lens, is relentless purification. Seasons shed their leaves, kingdoms fade, and loved ones eventually must leave. Everything in the outside world is temporary. Nothing lasts forever. Therefore, when someone decides to turn their back, let them go. When someone intentionally ignores your value, let them go. When someone misunderstands your silence as weakness, just let them hold on to that illusion. You have not lost anyone who was worthy. They are simply depriving themselves of the privilege of accompanying the greatest version of you. A version that later on, when they realize it, the price of your peace of mind will have become far too steep for them to buy back. Letting go is not failure, but a proud return to the temple of your own inner self. The liberation of the soul, when truth does not need noise to prove itself. There is an invisible burden that most of us have bent our backs, carrying for half our lives, the obsession and desperate yearning to be understood by others. How many times have you tried to excuse yourself against rumors, clear up a misunderstanding, or patiently explain over and over again, just in the hope that someone would change their view of you? You believed that if you were sincere enough, patient enough, then one day the truth would prevail. But the harsh truth is, no matter how clean and kind you live, there will always be people ready to call you a deceiver. No matter how much forbearance and sacrifice you give, there will be those who attribute cruelty to you. That distortion has never lain in your way of life, but stems from the muddy lens of their own making. Imagine standing before a lake as flat and still as a mirror under the full moon, reflecting the complete, pure beauty of the universe. Suddenly, someone throws a stone into the surface of the water. Instantly, the shimmering image vanishes, and the water writhes and becomes turbid. Did the moon change its shape? Absolutely not. Only the water was disturbed. Human perception operates in the exact same way. When someone's mind is besieged by envy, insecurity, hatred, or wounds that have never been healed, they completely lose the ability to perceive you with objective truth. They look at you through the lens of old hurts, hidden fears, and distorted stories crafted by their own imagination. Trying to mend a shattering mirror to force it to reflect your true image is an act of utter futility and exhaustion. The Stoic sages of antiquity, from an emperor Marcus Aurelius, criticized by the court, to the philosopher Seneca, falsely accused and demoted, all shared an astonishing tranquility of soul. They never wasted even a single minute chasing after justifications for baseless accusations. They understood an ultimate truth. Truth has never needed noise to prove itself. A truth stands firm by its own weight, much like sunlight does not need to loudly argue with the night to prove the existence of light. The more frantically you explain, the more heavily you bind around your own neck the chains of dependency, turning your own emotions into a plaything for public opinion to pull strings on. One day, you will reach a freedom so profound it feels unfamiliar. The day you completely let go of the need for validation. You no longer measure your worth by the yardstick of those who have never weathered the storms of your life, never wiped away your tears in the dark of night, and never walked alongside you for even a single stretch of the road. At that moment, your silence is no longer submission or weakness, but the most eloquent testimony to an indomitable inner courage. The outside world can freely write wild tales about you, but your soul has effortlessly walked past all judgments because the root of your character is anchored so deeply in truth that no wind of gossip can ever shake it. The forge of adversity, when hardships are not meant to destroy, but to temper bright steel. Every morning upon waking, life never sends you a promise of smooth, flat tranquility. On the contrary, it silently bestows upon you a silent test. Life observes how you react when looked down upon by others, measures the surge of anger when things are unjust, and challenges your courage when hard-earned achievements collapse in an instant. Then, in absolute silence, destiny grades you, not based on the words you loudly proclaim about your beliefs, but based on the very person you become when comfort and ease are completely stripped away. The essence of character is never revealed during blossoming spring seasons. It only exposes itself most fully right in the middle of a storm crashing down upon your head. Picture an ancient blacksmith standing before a forge with a temperature so intense that the surrounding space shudders violently. He never throws a cheap or rotten piece of metal into that fire, for that would only waste firewood. Only the hardest blocks of steel are brought into the epicenter of the heat, enduring relentless hammer blows, being bent, melted, and folded over and over again until all impurities and internal weaknesses are completely eradicated. The piece of steel writhes in agony. It cannot possibly understand why it must endure such cruel torture. It knows only pain. Yet when the metallurgical process concludes, what emerges from the fire is no longer a crude lump of iron, but a sharp, majestic, treasured sword, ready to accompany heroes through the ages. Life treats you in the exact same way. Adversity has never appeared because the universe hates you or wants to ruin your future. It comes because weakness can never shed its skin to become strength without stepping through the scorching fire of trial at least once. Emperor Marcus Aurelius never begged the gods to clear the thorns from his path. He only prayed for the wisdom to maintain his ego amidst countless storms. Every single insult is a test of patience, every betrayal is a problem of honesty, and every loss is a measure of the soul's attachment. Stubbornness does not lie in external circumstances, but in how you receive them. Most of us tend to collapse right from the opening minutes of the test. Just a single criticism steals away enthusiasm. Just a single disappointment strangles hope. Just a single stumble strips away faith in humanity. In an effort to punish the world, we inadvertently destroy our own souls with our own hands, becoming cold because of a cruel person, deceitful because of being cheated once, and bitter because life is too harsh. That is the sweetest victory your enemies crave, not only striking you down once, but molding you into a distorted, mediocre version identical to them. Stoicism opens up a landmark, liberating perspective. Instead of groveling, hugging your wounds and screaming out, "Why is this happening to me?" the wise person lifts their head high and utters the powerful question, "What kind of person is this adversity trying to forge me into?" It is that very question that transforms suffering from a confining prison into a step of honor. It converts loss into wisdom, turns rejection into freedom, and molds every stringent challenge into a launchpad for an indomitable soul, steadfast against all the shifting changes of life. The enemy in the shadows, when the greatest victory is conquering your inner ego. From the moment we are born until our adult years, we are always tirelessly searching for enemies out there. We point fingers at an unjust society, blame harsh circumstances, detest those who have betrayed our trust, and vent our anger on the fates that happen to cross our path. We spend all our energy sharpening swords in preparation for grand defensive battles, believing that simply by defeating external circumstances, we will find eternal peace. Yet Stoic sages of antiquity have pointed out a truth more shocking and painful than any battlefield. The most dangerous, cunning, and ruthless enemy has never set foot outside the borders of your soul. It lives right inside your chest, whispers in your own voice, and imprisons you in the very sweet rationalizations named reasons or lack of confidence. Imagine a valiant warrior stepping into battle with gleaming armor, a razor-sharp sword, and a majestic demeanor completely devoid of fear. Yet right from the enemy's first blow, he collapses completely. The reason is not because the opponent is too strong, but because his inner armor has long since rotted away. That fatal damage does not stem from external weapons, but from smoldering psychological cracks nurtured by self-doubt, by hundreds of excuses, and by the habit of blaming circumstances every time he stumbles. Most of humanity keeps bustling around, reinforcing their exterior, protecting illusory reputations, while ruthlessly neglecting the crumbling soul within. Marcus Aurelius once profoundly concluded that the human mind takes on the color of the thoughts we repeat every day. If the garden of consciousness is flooded with fear, you will see danger at every turn. If it is swamped with resentment, every passerby suddenly turns into an enemy. At a pivotal moment in life, anyone wishing to touch true freedom must face an act of utmost courage, burying the old version of themselves with their own hands, the one addicted to excuses, living attached to the recognition of others, and trembling before the shadow of failure. That is not self-destruction, but the necessary sacrifice to give birth to a new, more awakened and disciplined ego. A man who cannot master the conflicts within his own soul will sooner or later become a slave to everything around him. Conquering the inner ego is not a bloody war sowing grief, but the journey of stripping away all fabricated layers to face the naked truth about oneself. When you bravely extinguish the voice of cowardice, abandon the habit of seeking reasons to shirk responsibility, and stop allowing a lack of confidence to strangle your potential, then external circumstances will instantly lose their power to manipulate you. You no longer wait for salvation from anyone, because the most powerful fire has been lit from the very ashes of weakness. That is truly the most glorious victory. where self-mastery turns a human being into a solid block of steel against all the shifting changes of life, and that awakening can never be stripped away by any force. The oak amidst the storm. When suffering forges indomitable souls, there is a supreme level of strength that very few human lives ever touch. The moment life realizes it is completely powerless to continue negotiating with or subjugating your soul. Storms may churn, bringing crushing failures to test discipline. Betrayal may strike to fill you with bitterness. Loneliness and humiliation may surround you from all sides to strangle hope. Yet, amidst all that turmoil, you still stand steadfast with complete composure, where dignity and character have never for a single second left your footsteps. That is the exquisite realm where suffering no longer plays the role of a cruel enemy, but sheds its skin to become the greatest architect, sculpting your own greatness. Most of humanity, from birth until the end of life, forever kneels and begs for a flat path, a calm life without a ripple of wind. Yet Stoic sages chose an entirely different prayer, asking for shoulders strong enough to bear all adversity. Imagine an ancient tree standing proudly and solitarily on a sheer cliffside, where the cold, fierce gales of winter howl mercilessly against it. Fragile young trees, accustomed to living in the greenhouse of pampering, have long since snapped, their branches scattered across the freezing ground. Yet the old oak tree still proudly clings on through the years. That endurance is not because the storm suddenly took pity, but because the harsh beatings of nature forced its roots to plunge deeper, gripping tighter into the heart of Mother Earth. In the laws of nature, comfort only breeds fragile, weak lives. Only resistance and collision temper solid, unshakable foundations. Seneca once summarized a truth that shines brightly through time. Fire tests gold, adversity tests character. Yet most of us, upon encountering pain, immediately collapse, frantically pouring out reproaches against fate, envying the world, and handing over our peace of mind to events beyond our control. Conversely, a consciousness polished by Stoicism will utter a question carrying the power to transform the entire landscape. What part of my inner self is this adversity trying to temper? That single question holds the power to turn all bitterness into wisdom, convert loss into freedom, and mold the ashes of failure into a launchpad for an iron will. Every single reaction of yours to suffering leaves silent yet profound echoes in this life. Family watches how you face disappointment. Future generations inherit the fortitude you forge day by day, and even passers-by quietly learn the majesty in the way you walk through the storm. Destiny has never pre-written your fate through external conditions. It is shaped by the very countenance of the soul you choose to wear when circumstances turn harshest. Therefore, when trials descend, do not bow your head and beg for mercy. Learn to stand as proudly as the old oak tree amidst 1,000 howling winds, letting all pain become the reinforced concrete, building up your own steadfastness. When you become indomitable against suffering, the world out there completely loses the power to dictate your smile, and that is truly the most glorious victory that even death can never steal away. The legacy of character, living a noble life before the indifferent flow of time. Every human life born into this world must face two deaths. The first comes when the heartbeat stops and the final breath closes in silence. But the second, far more terrifying and cruel, arrives much later, when your name, your traces, and the memory of you completely fade from the minds of those who remain. Most of humanity trembles before the first death out of fear of the physical termination, yet Stoic sages ponder much more upon the second death, for it is the mirror exposing a life spent in aimlessness, blindly chasing ordinary recognition rather than forging a soul worthy of being honored. A life spanning hundreds of years becomes meaningless if it is only used to beg for attention instead of sharpening an ego worthy of time's remembrance. Try walking once through the desolate ruins of ancient Rome, where marble palaces are now cracked. Golden crowns have turned into dust, and voices that once threatened an entire empire have sunk completely into nothingness. Countless emperors once believed their power and wealth would endure alongside the universe, only for history to ultimately record a mere handful of names. Such enduring fame has never belonged to those who possessed many troops or much silver and gold, but to those with a character steadfast enough to withstand the erosion of the years. Time has never known how to compromise with anyone. It sweeps away all glittering monuments, yet retains and honors true wisdom and dignity. Emperor Marcus Aurelius deeply understood that law when, as each evening fell, he never measured success by the number of praises or the supreme power in his hands. He only questioned himself with a single query in the stillness: did I keep my soul stronger and purer today than it was before the sun rose? He understood that reputation is merely the fragile gift of a crowd that changes its heart with the wind, while character is the only armor that accompanies us to the very end of eternity. All assets will eventually belong to someone else. Memorial photographs will yellow with the years, and eventually, those who once loved or resented you will utter the final call for your name. That is not a sorrowful truth to plunge into fear, but the sharpest, most resounding wake-up call to stop wasting one's life. Do not let the artificial halo of external judgment steal away the peace within your soul. Live every single moment completely with discipline, compassion, and a noble bearing. The ultimate purpose of existence is not to defeat every enemy, seize every victory, or make the whole world bow its head, but to train oneself into a human being whom no puddle of hatred can stain and no toxic arrogance can blind. So that when the story of your life closes, what lingers among humanity is not regret, but the brilliant light of a great character, a living testament that you truly lived rather than merely existed in this world. Finally, after all the storms, schemes, and judgments from the outside world, the greatest battle has always taken place on a much quieter battlefield, deep within your own soul. The most terrifying enemy has never been those who insult or manipulate, but rather your own weak self of the past, full of doubt and excuses. When you bravely let go of the illusion of changing others to turn inward and master yourself, an internal miracle occurs. The moment your character becomes more steadfast and resolute than any adversity, the outside world instantly shatters its power of manipulation. Harsh criticisms turn into nothingness, storms transform into a launch pad, and judgments can no longer touch the peace within you. That is not about defeating an enemy, but the ultimate awakening of a free soul. When you no longer let anything on the outside dictate your smile or your sleep, that is the true and eternal wealth that no force in this world can ever take away.